All right, there we go. Hello. Thank you so much for meeting with me tonight. I'm super excited to talk about your books. So,
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
yeah, so what have you been writing lately?
My biggest focus lately is my upcoming Sleepy Hollow retelling, Splinter, which comes out in November. So I'm doing the final edits for that. And that's my last book of the year. So I get to have a little rest after that. I'm really excited for that rest. But yeah, I'm working on my first big paranormal romance novel, and it's been a labor of love and a challenge. But I am looking forward to letting it go into the world, so I can move on to something else.
Okay, that's fair. Totally relatable. I get that. It's always really fun working on a project, but then it's also kind of nice when it's done, right?
Yeah, I've been working on this for 2 years, so off and on for 2 years,
Oh,
and I realized, um, like I realized this year that I really had to let it go. I can't tweak it anymore. I can't work on it anymore.
okay.
I have to have a set date. I have to let it into the world and let it go
Yeah.
because especially when it comes to fantasy, it's the details that
Yeah.
really get you.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so, you, because I write contemporary romance most of the time, so I could just let it go easier
Okay.
for that particular genre. But for like anything fantasy related, I'm always tweaking, and I have to get to a point where I have to let it go.
Yeah.
Good or bad, let's let it go into the world and let it do its thing. So this is me letting go a 2 year project, and I'm really excited about it.
That's super cool. I love that. So, what made you decide to start writing paranormal?
Well, I've always loved paranormal. I was a person who was into Anne Rice, and and now I watch Xena, Hercules as a kid, and I was into Buffy, and so paranormal's always been a thing around
Okay.
me, something I'm interested in, and I always love the thought of that with especially urban paranormal that there is just beyond the regular, normal, ordinary things. There is magic everywhere. You just have to look for it hard enough. I love that concept,
Yeah.
and it's always like sort of intrigued me. And I just could not write anything else other than like paranormal. And I'm really excited
So cool.
to explore those things,
Yeah.
especially from my perspective, especially from my perspective as a Black trans person, and finding magic through that lens is going to be interesting.
That is super cool. I love that. So, what kind of characters are you going to have? Like, what kind of paranormal creatures? Are you going to have shapeshifters? Are you going to have vampires? Do you like what do you want to write? Or what have
Well, right now, like Splinter is all about witches because I was going to do Black witches right off the back. I'm a pagan myself in real life, so I
you?
have like years of experience dealing with like spiritual witchy things. I've been a pagan since I was like 13 years old, so that's my entire like adult and adolescent life. So that was just a natural draw to me, is
Yeah.
to write witches, especially Black witches, because Black
Yeah.
witches in media don't do well. Like you have your Bonnie Bennett's, you have your Prudence Blackwell or Blackwood. Blackwell. I can never figure which one is which. You have Prudence from like Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. You have um, the Black Witch from Salem. That I'm not gonna say her name because I know I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation. But like Black witches in media are treated well, mostly because of racism,
Oh
mostly
yeah.
because Black witches, it means empowering Black women,
Yeah.
and that's a fear that it's just it's a fear that has been prevalent for ages since like slavery. So I was really interested in empowering Black women, and
Yeah.
especially because this book is inspired by the show Sleepy Hollow, which
Yeah.
was the first paranormal show that was led by a Black woman, and she was
Okay.
done horribly, like
Yeah.
both the character and the actress. And in a show that should have been about empowering Black women, it ended up doing the exact opposite. And I really wanted to take that, ball that they dropped
Yeah.
and do something more to empower Black women and show them
Yeah.
that they can be powerful and they can take their own agency back and just do something more.
I love that. That's amazing. So obviously, I am not Black, but my brothers and sisters are. And oh, looks like we froze for a second. Can you hear me? Okay, there we go. So my brothers and sisters, most of them are Black, and my sisters and I talk about that a lot because they struggle to find people who look like them in books and media. And so I love that you are doing this for the kids of tomorrow and the readers of today and people who deserve that representation and deserve to be able to have that story that's done well and that's done thoughtfully with them in mind.
Yes, absolutely.
That's
Because
super.
I think as Black people, we're not being served well in media across the
Yeah.
board. And when we do Black witches, or even Black anything paranormal or fantasy, we are fighting up against a system that does not want to see Black people empowered.
Oh
Do
yeah.
and so I think that we, especially indies, are taking that in our own hands and making a space to empower Black people, and especially the most marginalized
Yeah.
sections of our community. And I think that's something that's wonderful. And I was so happy that I was able to find a community in which
Yeah.
celebrated that and cheered me on. So I'm
Yeah.
just really blessed.
I love that. No, I think that's amazing. I'm super excited that you're doing this. And I like that you mentioned indies because I feel like um as an indie author or I feel like we have this opportunity where a lot of times we might present a piece of work and a publisher might be like, oh well, that's not going to sell, or that's not what's selling right now, that's not on market, on trend, whatever. We have this ability to be like, actually this is what people want and we're going to give that to them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I think like my favorite example, and it's not necessarily just found this. So the sitting on something that I was looking for just a minute ago.
Oh,
So
okay.
but when it comes to the indie market, I think the best person I have seen do this so fantastically is Fredis Moon, who is a trans masculine Latinx person. They're not Black, but they are doing stuff that is steeped in their own experience, with not
Yeah,
only with them being Latinx, but also with because I can't speak today,
that's okay.
with Catholicism and something that people would clutch, that they are writing things that are making people would make people clutch their pearls and say, what
Yeah.
is going on? And instead it is really popular and they have a really great audience. And I see this with Black folks who are writing, Black romances. My friend Owl's Library just came out with this fantastic book, and it's a Black monster romance, and I think a Black queer monster romance, actually.
I love that.
And it's really doing well because there is an interest to have our stories told and
Yeah.
to be told through our own lens. And that's something that, like, despite what publishing is trying to do, which is like
Yeah.
replace us wholesale either with people who are not Black, or people, or not even people, but with machines. I
Oh,
think that's
yeah.
something that's irreplaceable.
Yeah, I would agree. So for you in your writing, have you always written from the heart? Have you always said, these are the characters that I want? And have you always had an idea of that, of what you wanted to represent in your writing?
From the jump, I knew that my focus was going to be on Black LGBTQ plus romance.
Okay.
Now, I didn't foresee myself like writing cozy contemporary romance. I didn't see that for myself. I was trying to be the next Black Casey McQuinton, and
Okay.
that didn't work out because that's not who I am. I'm a Black person, and Casey, is talented as they are, is not. And so we're just two different people. And with me trying to be them, I did myself a disservice.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I realized that I kind of stumbled upon with Fall Into You, a niche that I wasn't expecting, which was cozy, low angst, queer sapphic, not even sapphic, queer cozy romance. And people were so like hyped over it. And I didn't understand why, because it's just a simple romance. Like it's, two people bump into each other, they flirt, they fall in love, they go out, it's just a simple romance. But I realized that Black joy in that instance where there's no, big threat looming around,
Yeah.
looming for us, or there's no, racism.
Yeah.
Now, we have had this talk within the community about escapism, and there's some valid points made, but I wanted my books, especially my Georgina Kiersten books, to be
Yeah.
a soft place to land for Black, queer, and trans people.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize just simply creating that space would be so powerful. And it took me a long time to accept that this is what I was going to do and this is what I needed to do. And so, I did like 1,000 other, trendy books that just died in my Google Drive and never to be seen again. And then
Okay.
I just, like last year, I was like, I had like a come to Jesus moment where I was like, oh, no, this is what I need to be doing. And I've been really focusing on refining and honing this niche that I've made for myself.
Yeah. I love that. That's just so cool. It's really powerful. And I like what you said about creating a space that's safe and comfortable, that there's no overlooming threat. I know for me as a queer author, when I'm reading any kind of queer book, I really like it when the point of the book isn't how homophobic their family is. I really love it when there's just a story where it's like they happen to be gay, but they have, a I feel like sometimes now we get queer romances where the story is done justice and the characters get to have a full-fledged romance that isn't about fear. And so I appreciate that. And I really like that you're creating that for your readers. I think that's really powerful.
Mm-hmm. And I'm doing it. What's funny about this is that you would think, since my Jasper Hyde, which is the pen name that I'm publishing, my paranormal romance, and my Georgina Kiersten books wouldn't have a lot in common because, Georgina Kiersten books are light and Jasper Hyde is dark. So,
Okay.
but the thing about my Jasper Hyde books is that it's the other flip of the coin. It's just it's empowering Black queer people where, yeah, there may be like a looming threat, but that looming threat is never like homophobia or queerphobia or transphobia. It's always an external threat that they can overcome, a darkness that they can beat. And that in itself gives Black queer people, Black trans people, a soft space to land as well. And I think that like people would look at my brands and think, oh, they are completely different because one is light and one is dark. But when in reality, it's different sides of the same coin.
Okay.
And I think that not a lot of people really like comprehend that. They just see like one aspect of what I'm doing and they don't realize that it's just a bigger part of the message that I am very passionate about bringing into the world.
Yeah. I think that's really incredible. And it sounds like you know exactly what you want to write and you're going for it, which is really powerful. So have you always known that you wanted to be a writer, or is this something that you came into later in life, like maybe pursued a different career first?
I've had so many careers, so many,
Okay.
not even careers, but jobs. I've done every job under the sun because I've had ADHD,
Okay.
and I don't tend to focus very well, and so I get bored very easily, and so I'll end up like sabotaging myself and losing jobs. So I was,
Okay.
you know, I did customer service over the phone. I was a physician, a pharmacy technician at one point. I've done like telemarketing. I've done it all, right?
Wow. Okay.
But my one calling has always been writing and telling stories. Like I'm dyed in the wool storyteller, and I've always had stories in my brain. But it wasn't until I was like 19 and I took a creative writing course because I didn't want to take English anymore.
Okay.
Like, because I'm dyslexic, and that's like it's awful. So I wanted something I could do that was fun, and I took it on a lark, and it showed me how to take the stories that were in my mind and put them on paper. Now, were they really, effective, or were they really enjoyable? No, they were not. I had friends who told me, "Oh, this is the worst thing ever." But I kept coming back to writing. But I'm dyslexic. I have ADHD. I have autism, and it was an uphill battle. Like it was a chore, and I ended up breaking down in my late 20s, and I didn't write for like 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Like I didn't write. Okay. I couldn't do it because it was painful. But I still had that drive to tell stories, so I tried everything. Like maybe I'll do screenwriting or something. Didn't do that well. Or maybe I'll tell a story visually, and that's something I can do. Didn't do that well. Those 5 years, although they were hard for me, I took it as a time to learn and to experiment and to see what happens and to see what is the best for me. And no matter what I did, I always kept coming back to writing, like prose writing. And then there was a story, this fan fiction story in 2019. I actually had stopped writing it when I did my hiatus, and I came back to it 5 years later, and it was called Playing Hero, and it's about Black trans Harry Potter meeting Batman and falling in love and kicking ass and taking names, right? And this was one away from me at the time, because I wasn't out as trans, even to myself, to really explore what being trans and being non-binary means. But it was also a way for me to take all of the skills that I've learned and create a story. And I fell in love with writing again. Yeah. And I didn't expect anything of it, because I was like, I'm writing this for me, because there's no trans Harry Potter stories, and there's no Black Harry Potter, stories. And I wanted to make a Harry Potter story. And this was before I really understood that J.K. Rowling was what she would become, like this awful human being. Yeah. And so what I did was I wrote this story about a badass Black Harry Potter who was powerful and who took no shits, and who was trans and Black and persevered over everything that I threw at them. And it really, really made me love writing, and it made me really see that I wanted to create stories like this for myself. And I didn't expect that book, or rather that fanfic, would be so popular, because to the date I have 425 kudos on AO3 about this story. I still get comments about the story 5 years later. I had someone get so pissed off at the story that they told me they had a paragraph, 3-paragraph long review, and at the end they said, "I hope you never write again, because you suck." And I had the delight of telling them, because the next year I went back and I started my career as a professional author, and I told them, actually, no, I'm a professional author, and I wrote a pretty damn successful book that was number 17 on Amazon list, and not too shabby. Yeah, and I'm going to write, and I'm going to continue to write. But that book managed to touch people in ways I wasn't expecting. And I say book, but I mean fanfic. And then it was, and then the cherry on the top of the sundae was I was on Twitter, because Twitter is where I really like, that's my place, that's my community, that's where I go.
Okay.
So on Twitter 2019, right after I finished playing Hero, and then Kevin Sorbo says something really racist and
Yeah.
really anti-Black. And you have the background in this, the context of all of this is that I was a huge Hercules fan. And when I say huge, I mean huge. So
Exciting.
I was a huge Hercules and Xena fan. And in hindsight, that was a red flag to my own queerness. But I really loved the character of Hercules and the way that Kevin Sorbo portrayed Hercules, right? Because Hercules in that particular show was very progressive. He was anti-slavery. He was a feminist. He was a really progressive character. And to have this man who played this character show his ass in such a spectacular way, it pissed me off because it brought shame to me because I was a fan. I used to be a fan. And so I told him point blank, like I tagged him, I said, I am going to write a Black queer Hercules, and I'm going to dedicate the book to you, and then I'm going to tag you in that dedication on Twitter. I told him that. And I wrote that book. It was awful. It was awful. I might one day, when I'm done with like the next 2 books and that I plan to write, I might actually sit down and write it. But it lit a fire under my ass, and I haven't stopped writing since. I've been writing consistently since 2019. And when I say consistently, I'm not talking about 5 days a week to the point where my parents are like, Gigi, you need to go take a break. You need to go take a vacation. You need to do something. And I'm still here, still writing the damn thing. And I'm really just blessed that I have so many people who are interested in what I do. And I'm not calling Hoover popular. God, no. But, I have managed in the last 5 years to learn so much about not only the community, but the industry and the craft of writing. And I'm just really, really blessed that so many people are interested in what I'm doing and interested in supporting me making more books that like uplift Black LGBTQ plus people.
And one thing I have to say that I really like about you, because I know this is our first time like hanging out, but we've been mutuals on TikTok for a while. I love that you are always willing to give back to the community. I know that you've talked a lot about people wanting to support you, but I feel like you also really want to support other people because you have a lot of content designed to inform maybe new up and coming authors and to help, raise awareness about different issues in the community. So I think that's really fantastic that you do that too.
Oh, thank you. I really try to, well, I'm a community minded person, period. I've always been that way. But I really feel like I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the help of so many authors who helped me for free. I had Tamara Lush, who is like a juggernaut. I'm not even kidding you. The woman has been on like CNN. Okay,
Oh, cool.
she's a award-winning journalist, and
Okay.
she helped me format not only The Devil's Bargain, which was my first book, but Fall Into You for free. She did it out of the goodness of her heart, and those books would not be here without her. And I would not be here without the advice of the Black LGBTQ veteran authors that were here before me, who took me to the side and said, hey, this is what this is. Mm-hmm. And kept it real with me, like with J.C. Ellis and Cole McCade and Mika James and Carmen Lee. They kept me on the straight and narrow. And I'm just blessed to have so many people who saw something in me and continue to see something in me. And if I can give back just a little bit of what they have given me, I know that I'm doing well. And this is why I have like the sensitivity reader exchange. And this is why I'm kind of considering doing a blog, which I like do talk about how to be a poor ass author, because I'm a poor ass author my damn self, and like I cannot like afford to like pay $1,000 for a course, and this is no shade, no tea. Like if you can afford it, if you can
I cannot.
if you can afford it, or if you value your worth, and that's your worth, and that's how you're gonna pay, that's how you're gonna charge.
Yeah.
No shade. Get your money, get your change. I will never like dog on someone who is just trying to make money in this industry, because it's incredibly hard. Then the more intersections that you have in this community, the harder it is to make money.
Yeah.
And I've said this a lot. Like I've said this in a couple other podcasts, and I'll say this. Every time I choose to put a Black person on the cover, I take a pay, I get a gap in pay. I don't, someone is like, I just automatically right off the bat lose like a swath of readers. It is actually more profitable, is profitable for me as an author to write white books.
Oh, yeah.
And there's plenty of like Black authors who write nothing but white books. Yeah. I will never be one of them, because first of all, I'm not passionate about that, but because I'm petty. I want you to see that this is a Black book by a Black ass author, and you can take it or you can leave it. And I'm really really loud and firm about the struggles of being a Black LGBTQ plus author, especially a poor one, because it seems like everything that's, all the tools that you need is under a paywall. And I wanted to create a place where you can, I'm still gonna make my change on the side, like there's passive ways to still make change and still give. Wanted to create a way to create resources for poor authors, while still making money, but without them having to pay extra to get those resources. That's often under a paywall. So it's not me like stealing people's other intellectual property. It's me coming up with ways and affordable ways for authors, especially authors of color, to prosper. And I'm thinking about doing it maybe next year when I have the time. But what I want more than anything, and you stop me from gabbing anytime.
No, you're good. I'm here for it.
What I want more for anything is to open the door for people just like me to come through.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly hard.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. It's incredibly hard. And there's been days and then there's been weeks in which I just wanted to give up and walk away. I just saw the other day a Black author just say, hey, I'm done. Pack up the stuff, take everything off, done.
Wow.
And I understand why. Because it's incredibly hard. And this place, this community, I love being an indie author, but it's incredibly classist. If you're poor, you're going to be fighting 10 times harder to make it, where if you're rich, you can make it so much easier. And I want to make sure that I can give those tools and leave those legacy, leave a legacy. Let me say this again, because I'm getting,
you're good.
I wanted to make sure that I left a legacy in which I was opening doors for other Black LGBTQ plus people. And that was very important to me, and it's still important to me. But the way in which I am trying to do that and achieve that has changed a lot over the years. But like the mission is still the same.
Yeah. One thing I want to ask you about. So one thing I've noticed, speaking of classism and being able to afford publishing and all that goes with it, one thing I have noticed is a lack of Black models on stock photo sites that you can use for book covers. Can you weigh in on that? Because one thing that I've noticed is it seems like you often have to be able to afford a custom photo shoot. Do you have advice for people who may be searching for that?
Okay. So I'm gonna put my graphic designer hat, because one of the many jobs I've done, and one of my most successful jobs I've created for myself was being a graphic designer. And the thing I will say is this. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay. So one of the things I will say is this is you're gonna have to be like if you're doing it cheap, I would suggest learn how to do Photoshop. Learn how to do photo manipulation because that has saved me so many times. Okay. When I talk about the Black Hercules book, I did a cover for the Black Hercules book and I literally had to take a nude Black man from Adobe stock, then take another photo, which was a person in Roman
yeah, like the
in
armor.
Roman armor. Yeah.
Okay.
And I had to take a picture in which a white person was in Roman armor, take off the armor and graph it onto the Black photo.
Huh.
And it worked, but it was painstaking because there's Black folks, right? But there's not the variation that is there are Black people, but there's no variation. There's only like business, maybe a little bit, very, very like attractive, maybe not a lot of dark skinned folks. You're going to have to like work that Photoshop from end to end because it's really like people think that Black folks can't do fantasy. So there's no like Black fantasy stock images. Like if I was looking for a stock image for a white woman, like like I was doing a Little Red Riding Hood cover because I was planning on doing a Little Red Riding Hood book, and I literally had to create all the pieces myself from different stock footages and put it on a Black person because there's no fantasy oriented there's no fantasy oriented stock images. And it's really, really frustrating. And then you add on intersections, which is like maybe fat Black plus Black people. Like I was lucky to find a plus size, dark skinned Black woman for the cover of Fall Into You. But I still had to change the lighting because a lot of photographers do not know how to light Black skin. And so I had to change the lighting. And so so like the best tools I can say for Black folks who are trying to do it on the cheap, who do not have money for like a pre-made, is to learn Photoshop and learn how to do photo manipulation. And it's gonna be a uphill battle for sure. It's not easy, but like me being a graphic designer was a boon when it came to me and this business. And if you do not have any graphic design skills and you're writing Black characters, you're going to have a lot of trouble like finding competent stock photography. Or you're going to have to pay money for illustrations. And this is where illustrated covers come in, because a lot of people are like, oh, illustrated covers, blah, 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 blah. But people don't realize illustrated covers has saved so many authors because they finally get to have characters on the covers that look like their characters. And that is very hard to find in stock photography. So like, it's a cheaper alternative, but you have to be, put some money aside, save a little bit on the side, because you do want to pay your artists their worth. But that's the two things: either learn Photoshop yourself so you can adjust and light people, and learn how to light people's skin, how to light Black people's skin properly, because I guarantee you photographers, a lot of white photographers do not know how to do that. Or get I can't speak today. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm a little
you're perfect.
Okay.
You're totally fine. No worries at all. But that's, you know what, that brings up another question, because I feel like for many white models would never have to worry, does this person know how to light my skin? Whereas we're talking about, something as simple as we want to be able to have a Black model who is in Roman armor or in fantasy gear. And there's all these extra steps of, does this person know how to do their lighting? It's another layer of complexity. That shouldn't be there.
You got match skin colors. You guys like I did an elf version or a faith version of a book cover, I had to take the ears off of a white person. I had to color the ears. That took me like an hour to get the colors of the shade right, exactly right with the ears. I had to like, and when I look for like white elves,
Yeah.
I could automatically find a white woman with ears. But when it comes to Black women,
Yeah.
or Black people, period, I have to do so many tweaks to
Yeah.
get it right. And it takes hours. And it
Oh,
takes
yeah.
so many hours to just get it right. And like, again, either hire a damn good illustrator
Yeah.
or learn Photoshop and do it yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm blessed that I was doing graphic design and I had that expertise before I entered publishing, because I would be paying like double what I'm paying now to get books
Yeah.
out in the world.
It's wild. Well, hey, we are almost out of time, which is
Okay.
really sad because I've had such a good time talking with you. And I just really want to thank you for chatting with me tonight and sharing all of your thoughts and your process. It's really been a very meaningful experience meeting with you. So I really appreciate that. But before we go, where can people find you? So people who are watching our video, where can they connect with you?
You can find everything at georginakiersten.com. All of my pen names, all of my stuff is there.
Okay.
You can find me everywhere, in particular at Twitter or X, at Inglorious Gigi, on TikTok at Inglorious Gigi, Instagram at Inglorious Gigi, just Inglorious Gigi everywhere.
Okay.
And I have a Discord channel, so, or server, sorry, server, which is called the Inglories. And if you want to hang out with me, you can. It's just very low key.